Hey, everybody, welcome aboard Left Fresh Podcast. Thank you all for jumping on. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell a friend. First episode, Happy New Year to all. Still a little early into it, January 7th. Caught it at a good time. Definitely glad to get on here and catch it at the perfect time because as the season's wrapping up, NFL season that is, NBA season is picking up as well. Thank you all. Thank you all again. Yeah, so I'm not going to hold you, not going to delay you any longer. We're going to get right into it because it's only an hour broadcast tonight. It's going to be an hour format. I'm looking for maybe 2 nights a week. Another live segment on the social media platforms as well. Thank you all again for joining. Can't thank you enough. You may remember me from the 8580 podcast. Had a great run there. Doing this right here. Going to cover a lot of sports, a lot of hip hop and R&B. A lot of stuff for the culture and everything like that as well, too. So let's get right into it, man. I'm not going to hold you. You know what I mean? You only got an hour, got a lot of stuff to cover, and we're going to get right into it. Like I said, NFL season wrapped up. We had a great and unpredictable regular season. The way it started out was never the way it seemed. When I was covering the 8580 podcast, certain teams looked like they was going to make a run and crash. Certain teams looked like they were down and out. Started getting hot. Typical NFL season, but the teams that ended up in it turned out a little bit different this year from the teams that are typically in. We've seen a little bit of a changing of the tide, and we've seen some teams still manage to hang on. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm just going to show you all the first slate of games got on tap for this weekend. All wild card weekend. Very excited about that. Hope you all are excited too, because it's going to be a good one. First game. Looking at the Rams and the Panthers. The Panthers have won the regular season matchup. So it's going to be real interesting to see how, the Rams adjust. The Panthers coming in with Bryce Young. He's had some pretty inconsistent play, but, the Panthers run game and the defense has been pretty solid. They did get one over the Rams, but the Rams are getting Devontae Adams back healthy, so off a hamstring injury. Look like they should be fully at health, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see the type of adjustments they make. I can't wait to see. it. NFC South has been looked at as the weakest division. Panthers are not even over 500, but it is a game of matchups, though. Like I said, the Panthers did get the regular season win, but I think the Rams it's going to be tough to beat the Rams twice, even though the Panthers are at home. And, that's one of the catches that come along with winning your division. No matter how bad your record is, if you win your division, that's a home game. So it's going to be interesting. These games can go either way. But I think Matt Stafford's a pretty seasoned quarterback. Of course, on his path to a Hall of Fame. He's got the weapons back healthy. Defense is pretty shoddy in the backfield, but I think the pass rush can make it tough for Bryce. So, yeah, I think the Rams are still pretty much the favorite in this. Like I said, Panthers did get the upset win in the regular season, but it's going to be tough to get that second one. That second game, though, Packers and Bears. It's always tough to see a division rival in the playoff matchup because these can really go either way. It's in Chicago. Caleb Williams' first playoff with Ben Johnson. Jordan Love. He's looked like an MVP at some points of the season. It looked like not even elite at other points of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of adjustments they make. The Packers, of course, still down their star edge rusher, Michael Parsons. This doesn't look easy for the Packers. I can easily, I've heard talks that, Coach LaFleur can be on the move if, nothing happens this go around with this core. If they don't make any type of deep run, one and done could possibly look at a, coaching change, probably on his accord, probably on the team's accord. But, yeah, Bears looking pretty hot. Offense running on all cylinders. Even when they lost against San Francisco, they went back-to-back with them, put up 30-plus points. Caleb's starting to figure it out. He's making throws. He still misses a couple, but he's making these type of throws now that's like saying, hey, he's one of those second-year quarterbacks that's kind of made that leap. And having that right offensive mind, Ben Johnson, former coordinator, now head coach, working with him seemed to make the difference, especially down on course of the season. So as the team started off 0-2, they really surprised everyone. So, yeah, I can definitely get into this matchup right here too. good divisional rematch. Third time in the season, could go either way. The last game on this slate, Bills and Jaguars. Bills and Jaguars have had a long playoff history against each other. The times they have made the playoffs. This ought to be interesting. Trevor Lawrence versus Josh Allen. Josh Allen is going to have to probably elevate this Bills team. This Jaguars team looks loaded across the map. Young defense. Offense is clicking. Trevor Lawrence is playing at his best. Josh Allen is just dragging this Bills team to the playoffs. I mean, the run game, when James Cook is still a decent, still a very good running back, but it's going to be tough for Josh Allen to elevate him against this Bills team. Against the Jaguars team on the road. They're going to have their work cut out for them. Jaguars defense is pretty loaded. They got hot at the right time. It's going to be tough to say, Josh Allen can will through this, but I mean, he is last year's MVP. He has had some Herculean efforts, but he's also had some performances where he wasn't that great this season because there's just, some of these teams are too stacked against him. I think the AFC South turned out to be a lot better than people gave it credit for at the start of the season. I mean, you see the Colts, they started off hot 6-2, and then they didn't even make the playoffs. I mean, the Texans, who started off awful, and they ended up looking like one of the best defenses in football. So the AFC South is a lot tougher than people have given it credit for. What's the word if Josh Allen doesn't get it done? Matter of fact, if he's one and done in a playoff with no Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, no Joe Burrow, no other real elite quarterbacks up to this point in the AFC. It's kind of like, everybody said it should be a clear path for them, but it doesn't look that clear. These teams look like they have a lot more depth to them. And Justin got a path on his hands. And I'm not saying it should ruin his legacy if he doesn't win. But, yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if he comes up short this year. We're going to switch over to the next slate of games. We got the 49ers and we got the Philadelphia Eagles. This one right here, the Eagles, look like a team that can either repeat again or they could be one and done. That's the type of season the Eagles have had. Even in their wins, they've been solid and steady throughout the season. The defense has been almost impenetrable, but the offense is still pretty stagnant, still sputters. They still have but then they have their good games too. Jalen Hurts has had good games. He's just had some pretty pedestrian games as well. You also have, can Saquon get going? Can A.J. Brown get going? Can Devontae Smith get going? Those are the question marks that you have for the Eagles as they go against this 49ers team but then again, you have to ask if the 49ers can get going against that defense. I mean, Shanahan, brilliant offensive mind. They're definitely going to need a lot of Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy's going to have to be at his best. He got to minimize the mistakes he's had throughout the season. He's had a pretty injury plagued season, and he's had some pretty inconsistent games. He's going to have to manage the turnovers and everything like that. This Philadelphia crowd going to be tough. That Philadelphia weather is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough road game for the 49ers. I'm probably leaning towards the Eagles. I mean, they've been dysfunctional enough to get sent home on the first weekend, but I don't think they're going to lose this particular weekend. I think the Eagles probably going to end up taking this one. Chargers and Patriots. That's going to be an interesting one as well, though. You got Justin Herbert against Drake May. Chargers have been piecing it together with that offensive line. Injuries all throughout the season. Justin Herbert has been, willing his team along with no run game, limited wide receiver help, and a defense that gets the ball back for them. But, he's still got some offensive limitations, and he's going into Foxborough to play against, Gillette Stadium, at Foxborough, showing my age. But they're going into Gillette Stadium to play in the Patriots, and it's going to be, another West Coast team on the East Coast on the road in the playoffs. It's going to be pretty tough for that LA team to go out there in that New England weather, and then, facing Drake May, still running on all cylinders. This is going to be an interesting one too, because you're trying to look at if the offense is going to actually work against that Patriots defense, is if that Patriots offense is going to work against that Chargers defense. So it's like, I know it seems redundant to say, but it's like, the strength is on the other side of the ball for both of these teams. I can see this being more of a defensive game. I don't think Drake May in his first game is going to light it up for 400 yards or anything like that. I think, him getting to 200 yards would be kind of respectable. And I think it's going to be a lot of run play on the Patriots side of the ball. But I got the Patriots taking it as well. I think it's pretty tough for Justin Herbert to get his playoff win in this one. Yeah, I know everybody's waiting for him to get that playoff win, but if he has a performance in this one, it's going to be that would be a red flag. Like, hey, Justin Herbert might be on a run. I mean, if Justin Herbert can get through New England, that would say a lot because, I mean, he's another one on trial. There's a lot of quarterbacks on trial. Without Mahomes and Josh Allen, I mean, Josh Allen's in it, but, I mean, without Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, some of these other quarterbacks that, waiting for you to show up. And, Justin Herbert, he's one of them. He had an awful playoff game last season after having a great regular season. So this one here, Justin, I like the talent. He got the size. He's like built to be the perfect quarterback, but he's got to win these big games. Otherwise, he's going to keep getting the scrutiny that he's facing all throughout his career at this point. And then the next one we got on tap, Steelers and the Texans. I'm gonna be honest. Yes, sir, Warren Terry, man. This one's gonna be unpredictable one. It's wide open this season. I'm just going off my best bet, but yeah, it can go either way. Because I mean, some of these, like I said, Chargers. You look at the Chargers and the Patriots. I mean, Patriots are not the most experienced team. Chargers, got some experienced parts on there, and it's going to come down to coaching too. Vrabel versus Harbaugh. It's going to be a good one. But then, yeah, you got the Steelers and the Texans. I'm looking at the Texans to probably take this one. Aaron Rodgers has got his work cut out for him against that pass rush. Houston's pass rush is something vicious. And I mean that defense, the Steelers defense. I mean, a missed field goal away from getting sent home by the Ravens. And the Texans they're getting it together at the right time. I'm gonna have to go with the Texans on that one. I think Tomlin probably gets another opening weekend loss. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers got his work cut out for him. I mean, you're testing that mobility against that pass rush. And the run game, I can't see them running on that Texans defense either. I think the Texans are going to probably win this one. I see DK coming back. Yeah, the DK's coming back. They're going to have to get him. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to get rid of that ball quick. And DK's going to have to get it together quick too. He can't come in rusty. Those 2 games off, he got to come in ready to go. Because, I mean, I can honestly see the Texans winning this one. I can see the Patriots possibly winning that one in Gillette Stadium. I think the Eagles can win that one. Going back to that first slate of games, I think the Jags can win that one. I think the Rams can beat the Panthers. And yeah, I think the Rams will probably be the only road victory this wild card weekend. But again, this is a very unpredictable season right now. So I mean, yeah, it can definitely go either way. But yeah, and then as you know, the teams with the bye, the Denver Broncos, of course, got the bye. It'll be interesting. You have to see how these games play out to see who faces the team with the bye, of course. And then, of course, you got the Seattle Seahawks with a bye as well. So Seattle looking pretty tough. Coach McDonald's looking like coach of the year. But Sam Darnold's another quarterback on the seat to see if he can do well in big games. These games are usually a trial for him as well. So, when it comes to some of these quarterbacks, I would say Justin Herbert's on trial. Definitely got Sam Darnold on trial. Brock Purdy, yeah, he just got that big contract. He's definitely on trial. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been impressing people lately. Everybody kind of wrote him off at one point, especially once he got his extension, everybody questioning, whether they paid him too much. But right now he's leading the Jaguars pretty well. Looks like he's starting to progress and, he's starting to catch on a winning path and everything, kind of like how he did in high school and college. So, a lot of people that was rushed to calling him a bust, may have to slow down on him. I'm not saying he's an absolute elite, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence has definitely starting to get it going at this point in his career. But yeah, that's our slate of the NFL games. That's how the season crumbled. Oh yeah. When it comes to this point of the season, come down to who can make the least mistakes and penalties. Exactly. And that's the thing with some of these quarterbacks I'm looking at as well. I'm looking at, can Josh Allen minimize the mistakes? Can Trevor Lawrence? I mean, this game is definitely going to come down to who can minimize the mistakes. Bills and Jaguars, I mean, yeah, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, two gunslingers, definitely about who can minimize the mistakes. Even the Packers and the Bears, you got Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. Caleb, we get to see Caleb in his first playoff game to see how much has he learned, how much has he progressed, how much has he sharpened up. And that's going to be an interesting test right there to see. And then, like I said, Bryce Young facing a young Rams defense. The Rams defense is a pretty off and on defense, but when it's on, it's pretty much on. And that's when it really comes down to the pass rush. If they can get after Bryce Young and force him into errors, I can see the Rams taking that one pretty easily, even on the road, especially coming off a loss to them. Definitely want to get the lick back. And then, like you said, minimizing mistakes. This is one thing I will say about the Eagles, even though they have pretty stagnant offense, is that Jalen Hurts minimizes mistakes. And that's what's probably going to get them to win against the 49ers. Jalen Hurts actually manages the game pretty well. He just doesn't take a lot of risk, doesn't take a lot of shots down the field. Their problem is opening up the playbook, but not playing conservative, playing it safe. The Eagles can probably win that game, especially against the Shanahan, who loves to gamble. I know Falcons fans know a lot about that. Chargers and Patriots, yeah, same thing. Drake May, haven't seen you in a playoff game yet, but, he's looked pretty well managing the game. He's got a good offensive coordinator with Josh McDaniels. Like I said, Justin Herbert, he's on trial. CJ Stroud, he's won a playoff game. He's going against all-time great Aaron Rodgers. See if Aaron Rodgers got enough in the tank to get Pittsburgh their first playoff win in so many years. But it's going to be interesting, yeah. I mean, the way the season closed out made it really look more unpredictable than ever. So, and then, of course, how did the season end? Well, the season got off to an early start to Black Monday by getting rid of the Falcons head coach, Raheem Morris. There was some mixed emotions about whether getting rid of Raheem Morris was a little bit premature. I would say that he had a lot of expectation. This was a team that won, 7 games with Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith. So the expectation with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix was division. And maybe the first season, Kirk Cousins went down the slump, went down the road, and, we had to go with Penix. And then we came into camp with Penix, and Penix kind of was inconsistent and got hurt, and then here comes Kirk Cousins back. I think it was a lot of situationals and winnable games that really came down to cutting Raheem Morris loose. Was that the games that were winnable? I think when you fall below 500 in a division that only needs to be under 500, and you lost to the Jets, and the team that you seem to be ahead of for the last 2-3 years as far as rebuilding, the Panthers end up winning the division. Yeah, I think a lot of that was kind of the last straw. Also, you see at the top, the clean house from the general manager to Rich McKay to, Terry Fontenot, the general manager, and Rich McKay. Terry Fontenot, I think he's been a general manager for a few years now. I want to say about 5. Falcons playoff drought continued. It's a results-driven league. He hit on a lot of draft picks. He hit on some draft picks, though. Bijan Robinson was a good pick. Drake London was a good pick. The defensive players, trading that pick to the Rams that the Rams had this year, which is the Falcons pick. But you end up getting 2 quality young linemen, edge rushers on a defense that sorely needed edge rushers for years. And they look like he's put them in place for a while. Unfortunately, the quarterback position ultimately is what cost them. I think Rich McKay is probably the one who agreed to pay Kirk Cousins along in conjunction with the front office. And also, you also see that drafting Michael Penix with the injury history that he had, all the red flags, I think, and then to see him hurt, and to the point of unshackled, the Falcons, if there weren't going to be a lot of coach openings, I see the Falcons. We're going to hold on to Morris. Yeah, and then that's the reason why I think they let go of him, because there were so many openings after that. Raheem Morris was the first one to go. I mean, I don't even think Black Monday hit yet before, they announced that he was gone. But as you see across the league, Kevin Stefanski got let go. The Arizona Cardinals coach, Mr. Gannon, got let go. Pete Carroll got let go. And as of yesterday, Coach John Harbaugh got let go. Coach Harbaugh and Stefanski are both interviewed with the Falcons. I think the Falcons figured it would probably be as good a time as any to see if we get a new coach that can unlock the ceiling for this core. Because, I mean, there is talent there. And Falcons are going into the offseason pretty much locked in at quarterback. I mean, I know everybody's asking what's the question with Kirk Cousins. Nothing. I feel that contract has too much cap hit for them to let him go now. He's only in year 2 of a year 4 contract. Like $90 million, and then nobody's trading. I don't think anybody's in a rush to trade for Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's on the top of the totem pole to be traded for. I mean, you still got the Dolphins. We don't know the situation with them and Tua. They're trying to move Tua. The Cardinals with Kyler Murray, maybe trying to move them. Both of them are locked into contracts as well. So, if somebody was to trade for a quarterback under contract, I would imagine they'd go for Tua or Kyler before they would go for Kirk Cousins at 36. Not knowing how many more good years they had. So, as far as the next coach, I can see Coach Harbaugh going into a situation with that young defense. Falcons' defense is a lot better than it has been in recent years. So, a good defensive mind can probably unlock their defense and have them one of the best in the league. There's no real urgency for the quarterback if you have a good run game with Bijan and Algier. So it's like, that third and fourth quarter defense, exactly, and Raheem Morris was known for being a defensive mind, but there's got to be another parts away. And it depends on which you can restructure around Kirk's contract or add along to Kirk's contract, because that Falcons defense is still probably missing a piece. But, with the Falcons salary cap situation the way it is, and they still got to go in the offseason and decide how they're going to get Kyle Pitts. Or how they're going to extend them, or if to extend them or not. So, the Falcons have, a couple of things on their plate to figure out beside coaching as well. But I will say that it is one of the sexier coaching vacancies in the league. Like I said, a lot of coaches are just going in straight dumpster fires or rebuilds. And, the Falcons are just looking for somebody to get them over the top in a division that ceiling isn't that high for them. You can win 10 games in that division, you win in the division. And, for an experienced coach, somebody should be running to the Falcons any minute. So hopefully, because, the Falcons kind of ended up visiting this situation before when they hired Raheem Morris after Arthur Smith. It was a good coaching vacancy then. And that's why the expectations were so high, because at first, the Falcons were looking for more high-profile coaches than Raheem Morris in the first place. So, it's a matter of just expectations that were already laid out. But, yeah. And then you look at my Giants, same thing. We may be interviewing Stefanski or Harbaugh, between us and the Falcons. We got parts in place as well. We got Malik Neighbors should be coming back. We got Scatterboo, and hopefully somebody can keep Dart out the tent. Maybe we can add to our offensive line with our high picks, even though we didn't beat the Raiders out for the top pick. It's going to be interesting to see a lot of teams how they rebuild and see what type of how the coaching carousel works and the quarterback carousel, because some of these teams, the Minnesota Vikings, keep an eye on the Minnesota Vikings situation. They're dying to get a quarterback in there with Justin Jefferson. There was speculation about Joe Burrow. I don't know if they're going to get him away from Cincinnati, but, for J.J. McCarthy, they may try out Tua. They may try out Kyler Murray. Just get somebody that can get Justin Jefferson the ball in some sort of way or form. So it's going to be interesting in the NFL. As far as other moves, just following along. I'll be keeping up in the next couple of days. Next recording, have you all posted on it and everything like that. Keep you in the loop, keep you tapped in on what's going on around the league. Try to do these sports segments, sports episodes like on Tuesdays and Wednesdays or anything like in that range, but mostly Wednesdays. But moving on into the NBA. The NBA is starting to pick up as the NFL waits for the playoffs. Switch gears and look over into the Eastern Conference to see where we're at in the standings. You see the Detroit Pistons, top of the East, 27-9. The Celtics, with Jaylen Brown, have jumped into the second seed, jumped over the Knicks, jumped over my Knicks. But Jaylen Brown's playing like an MVP without Jason Tatum. They've been playing really well. I don't fighting the Pistons right now, but yeah, the Celtics are an experienced team. I'm not sure what the ceiling is, but they're in good position when Jason Tatum gets back. They can probably work him back into the fold slowly now with the Celtics doing so well. You see the Raptors in the top 4. You know, they got a young team out there quietly building the brand and everything like that. So Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, you know, RJ Barrett, you know, those young guys out there working too. The 76ers. Embiid and Paul George, the highest contracts, but yet the stars of the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey and rookie VJ Edgecombe. That's funny to me. You know, yeah. And that's one of the craziest things, that a team strapped in salary like that. last four teams in the Emirates Cup are all on a losing streak. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's like when you look at the East, it's actually more winning teams in the East now than the last couple of seasons. The last couple of seasons used to have only like 5 or 6 teams with winning records. Now you got all 8 teams out winning records. So it's like, you know, teams are having a harder time separating themselves in the East, and it's getting a little bit more competitive as well. So yeah, it's looking pretty good though. I mean, it's, you know, the East used to be known as completely weak, but it's like, you know, I don't know if it's better than the West, but I mean, it's definitely a little more competitive in the East as far as, you know, there's not only 4 competitive teams and everybody else is just bottom feeders. I mean, the Magic is starting to put it together. Miami took a little bit of a free fall. Cavaliers, they're a team that worries me as well. I think they may have hit their window. Yeah, I mean, because some of these younger teams, like Sixers, had one good draft pick and they've already reversed their luck. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like I said, Joel Embiid is probably one of the highest paid players in the NBA, along with Paul George, and they're considerably declining at this point in their careers. But they, you know, the young guys are really elevating them, and it's working for them. I mean, they made a real big jump from last year where they was at the bottom of the league. And then as you look at the bottom, you see the Bucks 16-20. Monitor that Giannis situation. Monitor that Giannis situation. I don't know if the Bucks are trying to make a move. I don't think they can make a move. They still got Damian Lillard's contract on their books. So they're just kind of, it's like delaying the inevitable. You know, when are you gonna get rid of Giannis? I mean, because right now his trade value is at its highest. And I mean, I know it's gonna be tough to get another superstar, but you can definitely get a fast track on a rebuild right now by getting rid of Giannis and probably getting the best parts you can get him, because I mean, struggling to stay afloat in the East doesn't tell me, you know, you're putting anything around Giannis that he can win with. You know, do something right by him. Please free Giannis. Yeah, other teams at the bottom, the Pacers, after being in the East and after making it out of the East last year, 6-31. Oh man. I mean, the Tyrese Halliburton injury and then losing Miles Turner, that seemed to be just critical losses for them. I mean, I imagine they would drop off, but like I said, in the East, I guess the East is more competitive, seriously. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's a big loss. I said Miles Turner's a big loss, but man, that Pacers team just completely free fall. Yeah, O'Shackle said, yeah, any team in the East better try to make a run and not leave it close in the standings. Injuries can kill you late in the season. Yeah, and that's definitely the critical thing is, like, you know, I know we discussed load management, but I mean, there's a lot of critical injuries like Achilles tears and different things like that, stars out in the playoffs and everything like that. I mean, especially certain stars, you know, minute restrictions, if not load management, minute restrictions, not exactly a bad thing for certain stars that they're hobbling through the end of the season. So, yeah, that's awful. I mean, and then as you also see, the Chicago Bulls, they're another team that has a young slew of parts. They're fighting in the play-in spot with the Atlanta Hawks. We're going to get to the Hawks in a hot minute before we get into the West, because, yeah, it's something game-changing about to happen in the league when it comes to the Hawks, if you already know. But, Yeah, the Eastern Conference looks about as wide open as it can get. I mean, I think the goal of having parity in the NBA is kind of reached. It's kind of been reached. I mean, as I look at these teams, nobody's really set in stone is making it out of the East. There's no clear cut. I mean, Detroit, yeah, they're number one, and they're probably the young team that's turned the corner at the right time and everything. But I mean, Toronto looks like they're doing the same thing. The Knicks. My Knicks worry me because I'm worried about them being stale and stagnant while these other teams are growing and getting better. I know Jalen Brunson's going to deliver. I worry about if Cat is going to continually deliver consistently. The Knicks made some great changes to the bench, which I'm happy about. You know what I mean? I think we can definitely make a run still. I think we're in it as much as anybody else, but I think the East is a little just as unpredictable as it was last year with Indiana coming out as a lower seed. But this year, too, this definitely looks like, you got to be sharp and you got to be injury-free going into the playoffs with these type of matchups. Oh, yeah, James, yeah. I'm looking at Cat. It's not looking good for Cat, man. And I told people about this, and this is one of my biggest worries because right now Cat is shooting the lowest field goal percentage of his career, the lowest 3-point percentage in the lowest of 10 years. His 14 shots attempts, one of the lowest in 8 years. Assists lowest. I mean, his numbers are down. And I mean, honestly, across the league, a lot of numbers are down. But because I think the physical play that everybody, allowed in the playoffs, they're allowed to continue on throughout the regular season as well. It's like a lot of shooting percentages are down. It's getting a little bit more physical throughout the NBA now. It's not just a playoff thing anymore. I think if people are following along through the season, I know it's a long drag, and I know a lot of people tend to tune out at this point of the season. But if you follow some of these games they're a little bit more physical now, and the pace is still high. But these shooting percentages are down because some of these defenses are a little bit more locked in now too. So yeah, Cat is definitely not looking like the $50-something million player that the Knicks signed up for. So, I see all these imaginary trade packages, but it's like, who's trading for Cat? So, I mean, it's kind of tough, max contracts, super max contracts, it's tough for anybody to trade for those. Which leads me to my next topic. The man of the hour, Trae Young. Trae Young has been linked to rumors of being traded as early as Monday, maybe a little bit earlier than Monday. But it is almost imminent and impendent that Trae Young is pretty much no longer going to be a Hawk. Most likely, rumors is flying that he will most likely end up a Wizard. Yes, Washington Wizard. The trade tracker, according to, and then Mark Stein, of course, reported that the Wizards are a top tier or a top destination. And I'll tell you why that's also a top destination that most people probably haven't followed up on. But yeah, trade tracker has them strongly most likely to go to the Wizards, second to the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't know who the Milwaukee Bucks are going to offer. Maybe Miles Turner. I mean, Hawks can use a big. 22% says it can go to the Timberwolves. I mean, probably going to trade for Rudy Gobert if that happened. Small percentage teams, long shots, be the Clippers, the Hornets, or the Memphis Grizzlies outright from Ja Morant. The Hornets being outright for LaMelo Ball, and Clippers possibly a deal. Moving some parts, maybe, I don't know who the Clippers have in mind anyway, but they're over the cap anyway. So those teams are unlikely. The most likely team is the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards have the cap space for Trae's extension. He's due to make $49 million next year. He'll probably extend for even more than that. They got young parts in place to trade. They got young parts in place to put Trae around. They got draft capital to give up to the Hawks. I mean, honestly, if you're a Hawks fan, this is probably the package that you will want. The trade package that you will want is from the Washington Wizards. They got draft capital. They got young players. I'm not sure if the Wizards are probably willing to give up their young players, probably just expiring deals. I mean, the Hawks kind of have good pieces in place. I know they want a big, but Washington Wizards not giving up Alexander Sarr. Sorry, Hawks fans, you should have drafted him. Yeah, yep, Trae's 27, due for that super max. Yep, and the Hawks are not paying him that, so I can see him on the move. Another key point that many don't know is that another reason why it's pretty much set in stone that he's going to Washington. Washington's general manager is Schlenk. And if you remember that last name, Schlenk, Travis Schlenk, that is the Atlanta Hawks' former executive. He's the man who drafted Trae Young. So now he's in Washington, and he's willing to make a move for Trae Young, have a space laid out for him. And Trae Young already expressed that he doesn't mind going to Washington. So I pretty much expect that trade to hit your tracker and your notifications. Oh, and right on cue, that notification just came in. I don't know if you got ESPN app on your phone, but it just happened. Trae Young going to the Washington Wizards in exchange for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. CJ McCollum's an expiring deal. Trae Young, I repeat, is going to the Washington Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. That's right. You heard it here first on the first episode of the Left Fresh podcast. Yeah. So now, and I mean, honestly, I'm looking to see if there's draft picks or anything involved in this, any type of draft capital. I pray that there's draft capital for the Hawks. I mean, that's kind of like the whole purpose of moving on from Trae Young. But yeah, Travis Schlenk. I mean, I knew he was gonna make that run for him. I mean, that was the GM that drafted Trae Young, and he wanted Trae. When he drafted him, he traded Luka for him. So when Trae's available on the trade market, he in Washington making a clean slate with them, definitely making a move. You heard it here first. Yeah, that's a win for both teams. I mean, I hope the Hawks are able to get a draft picks out of the deal, though. I mean, they do. The Hawks definitely get flexibility, though. I mean, that's one thing the Atlanta Hawks fans should be happy about. You got a young core, you can move forward with Jalen Johnson. You got Reese Shea, you got Nickeil Alexander. You got a nice young dynamic lineup. You bring in McCollum, who's a veteran, who's an expiring contract. So, you know what I mean? So you're going to open up number cap room in the offseason. You might be able to sign somebody else as well. So, yeah, this is a great move for the Hawks to move forward with. I mean, this is not a win now move, of course. You know what I mean? But this is, a move that's for the best. I feel like that Hawks core was outgrowing Trae. So, and as far as the Washington Wizards side, they get a star point guard with their young core, Keyshawn George, Alexander Sarr, rookie Trey Johnson. Yeah, good deal. The suspense is over. It happened right here while recording Left Fresh podcast. Definitely good deal. I mean, and that was the suspense of it. I mean, this to me is like the tip of the iceberg, because I feel like this is just the first of more moves to come. Yeah, Trae can still burn you with how consistent that remains to be seen. Yeah, Washington instantly just gets a draw. You know what I'm saying? This is a win for Washington. They got somebody that they can bring in that can, help accelerate their rebuild. You know what I mean? Trae, we already know the indictments. He's not a great defensive player. Well, Washington got a lot of length around Trae. They got a lot of wing defenders around Trae. And you got Alexander Sarr, who the Hawks passed on, who's now leading the league in blocks. So, I mean, Washington, this is an even trade on both sides. I like this one. I mean, I like that trade. There's going to be more to come. The more you get into it, there's going to be more players on the move. I mean, when it comes time to these new collective bargaining agreements, these tax aprons, team success, there's going to be more players getting moved around to make these fit, to make these salaries match up. If anything else, I mean, to me, it wasn't even just about the record. It was about the salary at the point. It was looking ahead. And I always said the Luka trade kind of set the tone that if Luka's not getting a super max deal, I mean, yeah, the conditioning issues, but he was producing. And despite production, if he's not getting a super max, a lot of teams are going to be looking at a lot of their players like, are they really worth the super max? When you look at the Philadelphia Sixers situation, Embiid, Paul George, big contracts, they can barely make it through. So, especially like Trae is still pretty young, but he's 27. That turns into 30 real fast. So, throwing around max contracts at guys at the peak of their career, this is really for that top five player. Everybody else is just kind of like just bidding. Yeah. Is that one? I've always said the problem of the organization has been the front office for the past 20 years. Yeah, I mean, this is and it's kind of like the adaptation to today's NBA as well. That landscape has changed where, you can add stars, bringing Trey on kind of, hindsight, he was a great point guard, but you added him to a Hawks team that was completely starting over. And, Trey probably needed a star sooner than later. They built the core around him. One of the things is that you added when you overpaid John Collins and then you traded for Dejounte Murray. It's like they try to make moves around Trey, but they actually needed just more, and I always feel like this is why I always say draft picks are the best ante. You're never going to get the best. You're never going to get collateral when you trade your star player away. You're never going to get the same deal up front. You just want to get as much draft picks as possible so you can hopefully hit on them and get the next star. Because Jalen Johnson was an unexpected star, and he's turning into one. So, I mean, if the Hawks can rack up some more draft picks and just keep compiling, I mean, that's kind of like the name of the game in today's NBA right now. It's like how many draft picks can you get and how many can you hit on? You have to draft well. This year's rookie class is incredible. The next season's rookie class is anticipated to be even better. Teams that got the draft picks going into these drafts are pretty much rich. As you go into the Western Conference, offense fill up seats, defense win championships. If you have it to win a championship, fill up seats. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you got to stack up as much as you can. Looking in the West, I mean, look at the teams at the top. Those are the two teams that had the richest of draft picks, Thunder and the Spurs. Exactly, Warren. You guys have a pick coming from the Pelicans. And as you look at the Pelicans, right there at the bottom, 6 and 30, that pick is going to the Hawks. I mean, even that, I mean, it's inexcusable to not get draft picks for Trae Young, but at the same time, I mean, you guys are back in a driver's seat with that. This draft class has probably top 4 picks that you can't miss on. If you land in that top 4, you land in that top 4 and add one of those guys to the team that you have, especially a Cameron Boozer or AJ DeBustia, oh man, yeah, the Hawks can be in great shape for the next couple seasons. But yeah, this like the Thunder. They had Paul George, they had Russell Westbrook. They didn't hold on to them forever and everything like that. And they paid them their deals, and then they found somebody they can unload them on. And they got a haul of draft picks for both of them. Westbrook, Paul George, they got a haul of draft picks. And what did they do? They cashed in. They built the core. They built a front, back, side to side machine. The Spurs did the same thing. Yep, you're absolutely right, Warren. It's a whole bunch of, over the last couple of seasons, been these young wings that's going to probably take off in a little while. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys are just maybe 2-3 years away. They're on teams that's under the radar right now. Yeah, I mean, and that's what's like ridiculous, and that's the thing about it is that a lot of these teams that are building through the draft, they're building through the right way. Everybody that's trying to make these, drastic moves to trade for superstars and everything like that, or any star in the move. This is why a lot of stars are not making any move, or not really making any moves, anything like that. So it's like, yeah. I mean, a lot of the great teams, already built their teams. They already drafted their teams. They're already in place. They already got depth. You know what I mean? And at this point, trading for a star would cost them too much depth and then take on too much salary. So that's why Trae Young, none of the teams at the top of the standings were looking to make a move for Trae Young or Ja Morant or Zion Williamson or any other star that's already locked in on a deal that teams are trying to unload. You're kind of stuck with these teams unless you can find a team that has completely building from scratch and has cap room, like the Wizards. Even as you see at the bottom of the standings, the Utah Jazz, they're building through the draft and everything like that. Ace Bailey, you giving them some time as well. They might be able to do something. So, but then you see the Kings, just completely awful. Kings are awful. Poor Westbrook, playing out the last of his career. DeMar DeRozan. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just going to be that's a tough situation. Zach LaVine. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're trying to move those guys around too, but yeah, nobody wants them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying nobody wants them, but I'm just saying a team that's contending for a ring, they're not looking for a big contract to make that next step. They're probably looking for that role player that can make the next step. They're probably looking for that secondary guy, that cheaper guy. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, a lot of teams are probably just trading up to get that draft pick. You know what I mean? So it's like I definitely see this draft is going to be a lot of moves as well, probably towards the end of the season. I don't think the trade deadline is going to have too much suspense to it because everybody's still locked into these deals and there's so many teams with the tax aprons and everything like that. That's why you haven't seen too many trade deadlines be too suspenseful since they started unloading these tax aprons, because it's hard to unload players throughout the season to where salaries can match up. Yeah, but draft time, yeah, you're going to see maybe a couple of stars on the move and everything when some of these contracts are off the books. Zion. Another team to watch, though, Minnesota Timberwolves. They're still winning at this point. They're still competitive, but Ant-Man is a young star, and the help he has around him are older, more veteran players. Rudy Gobert is a little bit more of a veteran now. Julius Randle's more of a veteran now. Mike Conley, Minnesota and Houston both need point guards badly. Mike Conley's pretty much hanging on by a thread, and Dillingham is a young point guard, but he's not looking ready to carry the torch either. So, yeah, I think this is possibly a team that is probably the next to make a move. It'll probably be the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I imagine it being Julius Randle. Maybe Rudy Gobert. I don't know if they're really willing to let go of center. I know a lot of teams need a center, but they do have Naz Reid, so Rudy Gobert may be expendable. But I know Minnesota probably needs a little more flexibility to keep building around Ant. I think the core around Ant is kind of aging around him. It's kind of eroding around him, and he's kind of in a situation where he kind of has to elevate a team on his own to carry teams as opposed to having guys who can consistently step up for him. Whew. Warriors fans, don't know what you're going to do. Probably just going to have to ride it out. Poor Steph, he has an aging Draymond, an aging Jimmy Butler. Warriors are completely over the cap. They're just an old team. I said at the beginning of the season they qualify for AARP. They don't look like they're going to pretty much even make it to the middle of the pack. They'll probably be a playing team at best. And I mean, got to watch out for one of these young teams. I mean, the Clippers are starting to pick up. I don't know if everybody's been watching Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard has been staying healthy. I've been trying to warn everybody, like, hey, man, Kawhi need to sit, man. All right, he's been putting up these 40 pieces and 30 and 40 pieces and everything like that. Kawhi got to learn Kawhi might have to sit, man. He might have to load manage him just because of his injury history. Like, he's playing too good right now. Might have to manage him a little bit. Ant and Randle do not complement each other. Ant's an iso ball type of guy. Ant's an iso ball kind of guy. Randle's kind of an iso ball kind of guy, and there is no playmaking between them to distribute the ball between them. That's the thing that really messes them up. That's why I said they really need a point guard, like a distributor, or just somebody with some passing of vision. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a point guard, maybe a point forward or somebody that can see the floor and distribute the ball amongst them. Because, Randle, we know Randle plays iso ball. We know he plays that bully ball and everything like that, but it's a lot of iso ball and kind of take over hero ball type of thing. There's just really no kind of real offense. It's pretty stagnant in Minnesota. The Warriors on an old team with little assets remaining. Yeah, they should have moved Jonathan Kuminga when he had value. Yeah, and that's the thing. They were just a stagnant team, and the Jimmy Butler deal. It was like a quick little flicker. You know what I mean? It was a quick flicker, but that was pretty much it. You know what I mean? It was like at the end of the day, you're still in the same position. You don't have another team without a big. And that's the kind of the NBA right now. The NBA's on a run on bigs. The NBA's got too many point guards and not enough bigs. The NBA's almost phasing out small point guards. You got 6'5", 6'6" point guards that can handle the rock. You got forwards and point forwards and everything that can bring the ball up court. You got centers that can bring the ball up court now. I mean, being a small guard, the standard has kind of rose, and it's like, you got to be able to be a super overall player, and small guard ball with no big, no kind of interior rim protection. Because the Lakers have a big, they just don't have no interior rim protection. DeAndre Ayton's a double-double guy. He just can't block shots to save his life. It's kind of always been the situation with him. And then, Warriors playing on fumes. Yeah. And that's the thing. You look at some of these older teams, like, the Lakers are young outside of LeBron, but, defensively, how can they get better? Like I said, they added Ayton as a big man in the middle, but he's not an interior rim protector. He's not an interior defender. So, you still kind of have this problem where Ayton's not going to give you. I mean, JJ Redick was pretty much low-key calling out his effort. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's kind of been Ayton throughout his career, from Phoenix to Portland to now. So, a lot of teams are looking for the next great big because, especially in today's game, you need that eraser. You need that guy that can cover the perimeter, close out shots on the, run guys off the 3-point line and close back on the around the rim. So the Knicks just snapped the Clippers win streak. Yeah, see, Kawhi was balling on a minute, man. He might have to sit him down just to, make sure he stay healthy and everything like that. Because the Clippers are at the bottom of the league and still in the 12th spot, but they're going to be, if I don't know if they can rally back in the West. They can rally towards a play-in spot, but I think they might have dug a hole too deep. But the West is the West. Look at the Suns. Dillon Brooks, and they made some good parts after getting rid of Bradley Beal. But yeah, those top 7 teams, I can see the top 5 pretty much being what the top 5 is, and everything else is pretty much wide open all the way down to maybe 12. I think the Jazz are just going through another season, just racking up another draft pick. Kings, they're probably going to just tank it and wrap up another draft pick and find something to do with LaVine and DeRozan. Nobody's trading for them at this point. Pelicans, Derek Queen. I don't know if you guys ever seen Derek Queen. He's a rookie. Pelicans drafted him to use the Hawks pick to do it. If Zion's expendable, they'll probably buy him out. I don't see anybody trading for him, but Derek Queen's made Zion expendable. I think the skill set and the production and everything like that, he's going to be good for the next couple of years. These rookie class is really impressive. I know I'm rambling all over the place, but yeah, this season is really taking a whole bunch of turns. Yeah, I think the Spurs going to make a run. Victor healthy, yeah, he's an eraser, man. He just completely dominates the game at this point. Training with Garnett and Olajuwon, that's not fair. You know what I mean? I think he just came in there with a whole new mental approach as well, too. So, yeah, James, that's exactly. Yeah, Queen definitely gives you Joker vibes. He can handle the ball. He can do everything, man. You know what I mean? So it's like that passing skill and that vision. Oh man, yeah, you can't beat that, man. You cannot beat that. I think Jeremiah Fears too. Look out the rookie for the point guard from Oklahoma. He's gonna be pretty good too. You gotta watch out for Jeremiah Fears too. That point guard. He's a young, athletic point guard. He's a little bit raw, but you watch out for him too. He's gonna be tough for the next couple of seasons as well. And like I said, they traded away the pick to the Hawks this year, but it looked like Queen was worth that pick though. So, but yeah, man, this season, leading towards the All-Star break, leading towards the trade deadline, starting to pick up. Like I said, I don't know how many more moves can they make, but I think there are going to be probably a couple of other smaller moves being made. And I think some more bigger moves are going to be made around the offseason, especially around the draft, because everybody's going to be trying to get in play to get these young guys that's coming out of college, from Darren Peterson to AJ DeBansta to Cameron Boozer, Caleb Wilson. And a slew of other guys. I'm going to be following the mock drafts as well. Part of me doing this channel is getting more in depth into sports, giving you more in-depth sports analysis and coverage, and, doing a lot more discussions and deeper discussions, sidebar discussions around sports and the concepts and everything of that nature too. So, tune in more. We're going to get deeper and deeper into these. This is just to scratch the surface. Plus, we just had the big trade announcements with Trae Young and everything like that. So we had a great first episode of sports coverage. We'll be back also to get the results of the wild card weekend and everything else. But we get ready to wrap it up, you all. I appreciate you all for jumping on with me. I should be back on next week. I'll be giving out the advertisements. Still leaning on that Tuesday and Wednesday slot. Definitely going to be on Wednesday. I'll let you know if there's a Tuesday as well. But I'll be following the sports. I'll be following all of the updates and announcements and everything, and be sure to give you all that coverage and that content that you all need and that discussion that we so long for at this point of the year. It's a wonderful start to the new year. Wonderful start to the show. I thank you all for jumping on with me, and I appreciate you all. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell a friend, everything else. See you all. Also, meant to tell you all too, I'll be probably doing a couple of lives as well. Saturday night lives, I like to call it. Probably on my Instagrams and my Facebooks. I have recordings as well. Do a lot of music discussions and music, announcements as well, like new albums and everything like that. As far as hip hop, R&B discussions will be in there as well too. But yeah, those will probably be my specialties. To get more into it, you'll see more on the advertisements. I'll have more topics and more content for you all prepared. So I appreciate you all for jumping on with me. It's the Left Fresh Podcast. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Good night.